Hey everybody, welcome to another episode. We are just going to start off straight away by knocking some bugs on the head. So, first bug that we want to deal with, open your object spawner script, and we want to, actually, first we'll go to the player collide script. Okay, so in the player collide script there is a problem when we take big damage. What we're doing is we're saying health equals health minus 3. But what that does is it means that what happens right now is if we get hit by a log, sometimes it minuses 3. If we've got 2, it minuses 3. We end up at -1, which means that the heart script doesn't work. Actually, what we're better off doing is actually open up the heart script. Sorry, not object spawner, not player collide, the heart script. And we've got this line of code here that says if player health equals 0, well, instead of saying equals 0, we can just say is less than 1. So that means if it's any number less than 1, then it turns them all into empty hearts. And that's what we want. So that bug is then fixed. Okay, cool. The other thing is when we play the game, I'm just going to make sure the audio is off. Yep. When we play the game, if I just go over to the side, you'll notice no trees will ever fall on me, except for the big tree, which 50% of the time, obviously, it goes on top of the player. And then there's this, obviously. But the standard trees never actually hit us. So we want to fix that. So if we go to the object spawner script, we go down to the spawn tree, and we just spawn the tree anywhere between -7 and 7. That will fix the problem. Cool. And the other thing we want to work on is the health. So right now, if our player gets player collides with something and takes damage, we need to actually run a method to make sure that, because right now he could like hit something, then hit something, and hit something again, and be dead in like a few seconds, and that's what we want. Normally games have like a 2-second basically a time frame in which the player is invincible. So after he gets hit, he can kind of like find his feet again and find an area. So we want to incorporate something like that into our game. So to do that, we'll create another enumerator. Actually, we can just copy all of this because it's gonna be very similar to the invincibility coroutine, and copy that and paste it down here and say but I'm not sure. Say can't get hurt. That's fine. Okay, so we've got this here. We don't want that. We don't want the yield. We just want it to go straight into this, and we want it to last for probably a little bit, and then everything can be turned back on. And that's it. So that's all we need to do. And then all we need to do is call can get hurt whenever we get hurt. So after we take damage, we can let's just copy this. We can just start the coroutine. I don't know why it does that. We start the coroutine, can get hurt. Man, my naming conventions are suffering a little bit when this project's getting a bit bigger. And copy this, obviously. Actually, it doesn't matter for the big tree, because the big tree you die straight away. So if we go to press play, let's maximize on play for this one. Alright, so when the player gets hurt, yep, and he was invincible for a short amount of time. And I think that it works. It functionally works, which is what we want. But I think it's just a little bit too slow. So well, it's actually a fair bit too slow. So if we say make it 5 and 5 and oh, sorry. Let's make it 0.10. Yep, and make this 10. Just feeling around here, and we'll find a good number. Alright, that was pretty cool. And that is basically, you can adjust that to what you like, but basically we just solved the problem of the player being able to get hurt. Cool, so that's awesome, guys. So now a player can get hurt, and then he can't get hurt straight after. So the area that it works really well in is when the big trees come. Like for now, like if I go, I can only get hurt once. Awesome. Okay, so now we can get on to adjusting our player initialize script and actually build out some menus. So what we're going to do is I've brought in some new images for our for the menu. Feel free to bring in your own. Of just a logo of my face for my website, a logo for the game, and a crown for the ranking system for Game Center. So if we go to scripts and open up game initialize script, we'll see we've got a small kind of script here, and we're going to do a few things straight off the bat. We're going to need to reference a few things. So first thing we want to reference is a public game object hearts, and they're our hearts, like our health. Public game object David logo, that's just my logo, whatever your website logo is or whatever you're going to put there, that's fine. Object crown ranking logo, and public game object main logo, and public game object speech bubble. Cool. In Awake, we need to, what we're going to do is we're going to actually write a line of code that's just going to make our game run a bit smoother on some devices that might limit the amount of frame rate you can have. So all you need to do is, because this runs, Awake runs at the start of the game, all you need to do when the script is, it actually runs before the script is loaded fully. So it like happens before start or anything like that. We're just going to write application.target frame rate equals, and let's just say 60. 60 is a good number. So that means our game will always try to run at 60 frames a second. It does reduce battery life and things like that on devices, but nearly every game does it, like because it just makes the game run so much smoother, because 30 frames a second for a game like our game doesn't really cut it because it's so fast paced. But 60 frames is going to be fine. It doesn't reduce anything that much. It just makes a little bit of a difference. Okay, then we're going to create a start method. So after Awake, we're going to write void start, and we're going to oh, I forgot that. We're going to actually write some set active statements, just so we are all in the same, like everything starts exactly how we want it to start. So our speech bubble dot set active, and we're just going to equal this, we're just going to say false. So we can paste this a few times. Our hearts, so we can just change this to hearts. We can set that active to false. Our David logo, set that to true. Our crown ranking logo, we can set that to true, and our main logo, we can set that to true. Cool. So now at the start of our game, when we first load this script, it's going to set the speech bubble to false, like set them if they're active or not. And all that means is just like the player. Hang on. If I just turn him off there, that's just setting him active and inactive. So if you turn him off, none of the scripts will be loaded, nothing will happen. But if you have him on, they'll all run as planned. Cool. Then what we want to do is we want to actually create a instead of saying here like input.get button down jump equals game start equals true, we don't actually want to do that. So we can delete that, and we can actually say, in fact, let's just comment this out for now, and so we get just a fresh start. So in update, we're going to write two different things. We're going to write iOS controls, so iOS, and we're going to write keyboard. Oh my gosh. Say PC. I sometimes can't spell when I'm doing these videos for some reason. Okay, so so in the iOS, we're just going to say a simple method that's a simple list of instructions that's just going to say if, not that, sorry, I don't know why I did that. If input dot get well, sorry, actually we want to say dot touch count is greater than 0, then we can do some stuff in here. So we're going to create a new vector 3, and we're going to call this world position, and we're going to equal that to camera dot main dot screen to world point, and we're going to take an input dot get touch 0 dot position. So that's the position of the first finger that we put down on the touch device. And then we're going to create a new vector 2 touch position. I'm going to equal that to new vector 2 at world position dot x and world position dot y. And then we're going to say if game started equals false and main logo dot get component collider 2D nope, equals physics 2D dot overlap point, and if it overlaps the touch position, then we can start coroutine start game yeah, cool. And then we can have this line of code for the same another 2 times, But we can say if game started equals false, and we just need to change this to David logo, and we just need to change this to crown ranking logo, and we can delete this. So for the crown ranking logo, we can just say load game center, and we can do that later. And for the load website one here, we can actually use this nifty little command, which I wish I knew about when I was designing Galaxy Cube. Application.open URL. And what URL do we want to open? Well, my website is http://www.davidsinternetwebsite.com. It's funny, isn't it? I think it's hilarious. Cool. davidsinternetwebsite.com. So that means if someone clicks on the, now it's going to throw some errors, so just ignore that. If someone clicks on the logo, for my face logo, which we haven't set up yet, it'll actually open up a new web page and go to my website, and that's exactly what we want. And if they click on the main logo, it'll start the game. But we need to create the method for starting the game here. But before we do that, we probably should just do the keyboard input so we can actually test this thing. So if we just copy that down to the PC area, and we just change input.getTouches, input.touchCount to input.getMouseButtonDown 0, and we say screen to world point input.mousePosition, and their mouse position equals worldx.yx. That's all good. Blah blah blah. And we're going to call this mouse position and mouse position and mouse position. Just going to make sure that I haven't done anything wrong there. That looks all good. Okay, that looks fine. I don't like actually coding so much stuff without checking, but hey, we're in a tutorial. What can go wrong, right? Okay, so we're going to create a new iEnumerator for our coroutine, and we'll call this start game. And we're going to do a few things in here. Initially, what we want to do is we want to make it so, well, maybe, I'm not sure yet, we'll see how it looks. Make it so that when the player starts the game, if they haven't got a score of, like, say, 10, if they haven't gotten to a high score of 10, which is really easy to get, then the game just assumes they've never actually played a game before, in which it shows them the little tutorial at the start. But for now, we're not going to actually code that in there yet. We'll do that in a later episode. But so for now, we'll just write the code quite simply. And yeah, all right, that makes sense. So we just need to write a float, make it t, and we'll equal it to 0. So t for time, and then we'll say while t is less than 1. Do some stuff. Okay, and so we're just going to say t plus equals time dot delta time, and then we're going to say cam dot game object dot transform dot position equals vector 3 dot lerp cam.gameObject dot transform dot position. So we're lerping from the position the camera is already in to a new vector 3. And where do we want that? Well, I've tested this just before. Like, I just fiddled around with the camera settings and worked out that I actually want it at probably 1.8 f to minus 1.45 f, so that's your x and then your y, and we want it, of course, at minus 10. That's why it's important to do X, Y, and Z. So it's important to do a vector 3 because you want the camera to actually be reset further away, and we want to make sure we explicitly type that in case something happens and it doesn't, for some reason, it just goes to like 0 on the Z, which would make it so we couldn't see anything. Alright, cool. So 0.1f, that's how fast we want it to happen, and that's it. That's line of code done. And then we can say cam dot get component camera dot orthographic size. So orthographic size is, let me just show you, it's going to throw so many errors, but orthographic size is this. So how far we want to zoom in. So right now we have it at 5, and that's what we want it for the game. But for the tutorial section, we want it probably a little bit closer. Orthographic size equals mathf.lerp from cam.get component. You could just write like whatever you want. Like you could just write, okay, well, it's it's right now it's at 5, so we could just write 5. But I don't like to do that because if you decide to change something down the track, it can be annoying. Yeah, get component. So camera dot orthographic size. Probably just zoom in a little bit for you guys. Oh man, it's so touchy when I do that. All right. Orthographic size. Orthographic size to 2 at 0.1 f. It's actually probably harder to read, isn't it? Because it's like right on the side. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Yep, that's better. Okay. Alright, so yeah, close that and move to the next line. Okay, so then we want to say speech bubble dot set active equals true. Oh, whoa, what happened? True. And then we want to say main logo dot transform dot position equals vector 2 dot lerp from main logo dot transform dot position. I know this is really tedious, but it's important that we do it to a new vector 2 0 to 15 at 0.1 f. And we can actually just copy this line of code, paste it 2 times, and we want to say David logo, and we want to say crown ranking logo, and they want to be indifferent though. We don't want to move the main. We want to move the main logo up. We want to move the David logo to the left, I suppose. So say -15. And say this, it'll keep this at 0, and so 15. So everyone remembers obviously that you go X, Y, Z, and because this is vector 2, it's just X and Y, which is your X and your Y on the page. Sorry, I'll do it. X, Y. That makes sense. I hope everyone's following me. Hope everyone's good. And then we just want to say yield return new wait for seconds, and we want to wait for 0.02 f, I suppose is a good amount of time. So this is just a quick and dirty way of doing it. Obviously, what we're doing is, so while t is less than 1, it just increments the time variable by time.delta time, which is just, you know, a certain amount. You can actually debug that if you want to see what time.delta time actually is. But anyway, it increments that every time. But in the meantime, while it does that, it moves all this towards the place that we want to move it. It sets this to, you know, true, and then it waits for 0.02 seconds and then does it all again, and then it continues to do that. Obviously, in your game, it might be different. You might have to fiddle around with some of these numbers. You might have to fiddle around with this. You might have to fiddle around with 0.1 and 0.02. It's not probably the most ideal way of doing it, but I think if I did research and looked at like the best way of doing everything and stuff, this tutorial would never be finished, and we would just continue to build a game. And the problem with most developers is they never, especially programmers, is they never finish, and that's a big problem. And so if it does the job, it does the job, and our game isn't too complex that we need to focus too hard on best practices all the time. But this will get the game up and running, and there's no performance issues, and everything is running fine. So in saying that, that is my great justification for this coding, if there is a better way out there. I'm not actually sure if there is. Anyway, and that's all we need to do. And then except we just need to say destroy main logo, destroy, we'll just copy this actually. Bang, bang, bang. Destroy David logo, destroy crown ranking logo, and we don't need this one. We can just say hearts. Sorry, keep getting messages. Hearts dot set active equals true. And that should be all good now. Now it's pretty much gonna run pretty well now, but we need to create one more bool up here. So we just want to create a public bool. Actually, let's get that away from there and let's put it up underneath this bool. Public bool, and we're gonna actually say can start game. Whoa, what'd I do? Can start game. Cool, so, and we want to equal can start game to false. So it starts initially with false, and then we want to write down, we want to write down the bottom here, can start, sorry, I'm just going to be head games, can start equals true. Cool. So that means that if it's going to do all this, and then after it's done all this, it's going to say can start equal true. So we need to actually have in update here, we need to just write a simple line of code that just says if can start game equals true, and here's where we do another parentheses, because we've got to compare two different input methods. Input dot touch count is greater than 0, or, so those two lines mean or. I'm not sure if I've gone over that. Input dot get button if input.get button horizontal. So if can start game equals true and and either input touch count is greater than 0 or input.get button that should be get button horizontal. So it's if those conditions equal true, then we can say game started equals true. And if game started equals true, So we've got the code up here, but we're just going to write it out again. If, just a bit differently, if game started equals true, then we want to say, well, speech bubble dot set active equals false, and we can probably just copy this line of code and probably just copy this line of code as well. Fantastic. And then we can just delete this. Cool. So we got our iOS inputs and we got our PC inputs because I couldn't spell keyboard for some reason, and we are all good. Everything is sweet. So if we go back over to Unity, we can start working on the actual look of it all and get it to actually function. But right now, our script is working fine. Or press play, and the only problem we have is the variables aren't declared. That's cool. So let's get started on that. So if we go over to our project, go over to sprites, and we see we've got the 3 sprites here. We're just going to create a new empty, and we're just going to say put it in 0. We're just going to call this menu, and we're going to create a new empty again, put it on there, call it 0, 0, and copy this 1, 2, 3 times. I'm going to call this main logo. I'm going to call this one David logo, or whatever your website logo is, and we're going to call this ranking logo. Cool. So main logo, we want to add a sprite renderer to it, and we want to add a actually probably should add the sprite renderer sprite to it first, and probably want that at like a 7 and like a 7. Probably make sure, actually I'm going to grab all these I've imported and go over to filter mode and change it to point, and change the max size to 512 because I know it's quite small, and to true color, and apply that, and it got that nice pixely look. Okay, that's cool. Sorry, main logo. So we've got that. Now we just want to create a box collider 2D, and let's just bring this up to about 1.8. Cool. Same thing we can do for the David logo. Add a sprite renderer. Chuck in David's sprite, and that's not what we want to do. We don't want to scale it. Position it over here. I'm going to make it 2 and 2. Actually, 1.5. 1.5. Now you could be doing this with the Unity UI, but I'm not the biggest fan of it for just things like this. For some reason, it just never seems to work the way I want it to, and it's just a bit unintuitive for me personally. But you know, it could work really good for your game, but I'm just not the biggest fan, and I know how to do it this way a bit better. And we want to add obviously a box collider 2D, and ranking, do the same thing, add the crown, add a sprite renderer, and a box collider 2D, and make this, I think this one's a bit smaller, so we can make it 3 and 3, and change the position to 4.5 because I believe the David logo is at minus 4.5, and we can actually probably get the ranking and just have it a smidge down because it just different sizes looks a bit different. That's good enough for me. Okay, it's cool. So if we play the game now, it should work. Except we've got to make sure that we send everything over to the correct spot. So inside our canvas, inside our scene, hearts is automatically turned off. Put hearts and hearts. I think I did that when I wasn't actually in the tutorial. Sorry guys, the hearts I just turned it off. I just turned it off for testing purposes for some reason. And go back to script. Sorry. Drag main logo over to main logo. Drive David logo or whatever your website logo is over to David logo, and ranking logo over to ranking logo. And we need to add the speech bubble because I haven't actually done that yet. So if we create a new, well, actually we can just copy and paste one of these. Speech bubble. And we don't need a box collider on this, and we need to change this to speech bubble. That's looking pretty cool, but except we wanted it probably like 1.5 and 1.5, and the position we want to set it over the player like this, and cool, and it's in default, so we can just say -1. That puts it in the background just for now. We can obviously adjust that later. So just make sure we drag that over, so speech bubble over to speech bubble, and I think we're just going to put menu in the scene as well, just to keep things neat. And if we press play, the speech bubble obviously disappears. You won't see that when you will play the game. Well, actually, we'll just turn it off, but press the play button, zooms in. Hey there, my name is Super Keegan. I'm pretty super. I hate trees but love tokens. Can you help me collect them? Touch left and right. So if we touch left and right, it starts the game. The problem is I don't actually have, let's turn off the audio source again. I don't actually have the is touch working. So do that again, press that, and when it's finished, it waits for a few seconds, obviously so people can read it, and you can play the game and everything's working fine. Cool. And also, same thing as if you press the website. Well, you didn't see that, but it actually loaded up David's internet website. I don't actually have internet at the moment, but yeah, it actually loaded up David's internet's website on my other monitor. But yeah, and that's the same thing that will happen, obviously, with the Game Center thing here, but we'll deal with that in a later video. So guys, that's it. We've got our game running pretty sweet. If you press play, you can start the game, and it's got that cool little intro. Later on, like I said, we'll make it so the player, when he clicks on that, if he's got a score of over 10, it maybe you want it so he doesn't show that tutorial, like show that little text bubble there. Yeah, so I'll just actually turn that off now because we don't need it. So it should turn on. Yep, cool. All right, guys. So that's it for this episode. We've kind of gone a bit over time, but that's okay. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter, and let's keep in touch. And if you've got any suggestions for other videos, obviously make sure you post them in the comments down below. And I'll see you in the next video.